Greetings YouTube, welcome back to the Meta channel. I am Marcus, bringing you another video for Cardfight Vanguard Overdress. Now continuing on from DBT07 weekly release, we actually do have some supports that are specific to Eugene as well as Baromagnes, which I actually extracted them out from the weekly videos, otherwise those videos are going to be really long. But in this video on itself, both of these supports should suffice in one video. So let's take a look at what DBT07 has in store for Eugene as well as Baromagnes. Starting off with Eugene, we have Dragritter Midhat. Auto Rigor Circle. When your unit is stand by your card's ability, retire this unit and draw a card. So this card might not be really specific to Eugene because this card does not really check if your Vanguard is Eugene or not. So you could play this card in other decks. It's basically up to you. The draw is actually really nice since your units could stand by card skill. And of course, this is like foreshadowing what Eugene is gonna get because as you already know, Eugene do restand now, which is something quite disgusting. Since you are able to recycle this card from the drop, this card is actually really nice for Eugene because, you know, Eugene is able to put stuff from the drop zone to the top of the deck and therefore start using Eugene's skill a little bit better than what Eugene initially was. This card, I think it's a really nice tag in for Eugene. Next up, we have beautiful Bullet of Duststorm Jodie. Active rearguard once per turn. If you have a Vanguard with Eugene in its card name, cost Soul Blast 1, choose a grade 2 or less normal unit other than Sentinel from your drop and put it on top or bottom of your deck. So this is basically your 2-boxing card and basically recycles one of your units to put them either the top or the bottom. At this point in time, of course, you already know what Eugene is doing. Eugene basically Soul Blast 5 for every open rearguard that your opponent has. You basically could check that same number and call them out. So it's a very nice way of helping you like recycle some of your stuff because Eugene does have this issue of having a very RNG skill because you don't really know what's in your top deck and they don't go back to the deck after you check them. So this card, I think it's a very solid addition to Eugene's arsenal. And in the long run, I think this card could help increase the consistency of Eugene as well. A very solid card, but I don't think this card should be at 5, if you know what I mean. Because this unit does cost a soul. So with Eugene Soul Blasting 5, you will need to play a little bit more on the soul charge mechanic. But I think it should be sufficient with the amount of support that Eugene currently has and what Dragon Empire already has as well. And of course, the best example that you can put on the top of the deck is going to be Silent Crow. Because Silent Crow on itself is a 13k booster or an attacker when Silent Crow is called by Eugene's skill, which is very nice. And if you are able to retire the same column as a rearguard in the same column as Silent Crow is able to give you that one draw, which is super nice. So you kind of see like what the direction is going to be for Eugene, and I hope this makes Eugene a little bit more better and could move up the ladder of the meta. Next up, we have a promo card, Fierce Bullet of Duststorm Nawfal. Active Rigor Circle. If you have a Vanguard with Eugene in its card name, bind this unit, choose up to 2 normal units from your drop other than Sentinels and put them into your soul. If your opponent's rearguard was retired this turn, you may put all of the chosen unit on the top of your deck in any order instead of into your soul. So this card does further increasing the consistency of Eugene's superior calling, which makes the whole Eugene a very nice right line to be played right now. The binding on this unit actually makes sense since with the amount of support that it allows Eugene to put their stuff from the drop zone to the top deck and then they can just keep reusing this skill is probably why they give it the cost of binding himself. You are able to put either 2 normal units to the top of the deck, which actually it's going to be a very insane consistency boost to Eugene's superior call. And what's more, with Eugene having access to drawing skills, this card is able to guarantee those draw skills from you setting it up from the drop zone. So even if you put like those normal units to the top of your deck after you use Eugene's skill, if you still have anything that can draw your card, those cards can be drawn to your hand. Kind of take cards from the drop zone in a sense, although it's a little bit more complicated. But this card is actually really nice. Next, we have Striking Artillery of Duststorm Andrea. Active Rearguard Circle. If you have a Vanguard with Eugene in its card name, cost retire this unit, choose one of your opponent's rearguard and retire it. So this is like a not so free rearguard sniping rearguard. You are basically exchanging one for one. So it's not like really the best thing in the world, but keep in mind here the difference between this card and other retiring cards that Eugene has is that this card is not very choosy on retiring what rearguard, because normally for Eugene he actually needs to see what kind of rearguards that he's retiring. This card just directly remove a rearguard regardless of what grade that rearguard is. So it's kind of a benefit in running this card, because judging from the points that I make earlier. So I guess that this is quite a nice card. And once again, since Eugene is able to reuse this card, it's basically just free real estate, if you know what I mean, because you can just keep like recycling stuff from the drop zone to the top deck. Although you can't recycle your stuff forever, but still having the option of recycling your stuff after using their skills is actually very nice. Next, for the double R, Assaulting Bullet of Darstorm Oswald. Active Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted a Vanguard with Eugene in its card name. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and they have no rearguards, cost Counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Choose one of your Vanguards, stand it, and increase or decrease its critical and drive to 1 until the end of turn. Yeah. So Eugene the Dragoning Overlord or Dragoning Overlord the Eugene, whichever way you want to put it. So with Eugene is able to restand, yeah, I think this probably will be a dream come true to most of the Eugene's main out there. And since Eugene does gain quite a bit of power himself, this card just makes Eugene like really disgusting. Although there's a restriction says that you need to see if your opponent is at grade 3 or greater. So if you go first, you can't restand on the third turn. So you will need to wait until your personal right turn, which is even more devastating. So if you are going second, you are able to use this card when you ride onto Eugene, which is actually really nice. Although the critical is reduced to 1 because, you know, the skills does says so. So whatever critical you give to Vanguard is gonna decrease it back to 1. But you do have some cards that actually helps you gain back the crit, which a very nice example here will be Tribash, which is amazing card in Eugene right now with the amount of retiring that he has currently. Although you do need to have a sufficient amount of retiring support in your deck to retire the opponent so that they don't have rearguards for you for this skill to activate. So it's going to be a little bit of a very opponent's board dependent, because if you're going up against Nirvana deck, all they do is just call out one Trickstar and this card is basically useless. Just keep that in mind. Some of the cards that actually have resist, Trickstar is one of them. Moving on to Dark States, we have Magnereversal Breaker. Super Saiyan Baromagnes, here we go. Counterblast 1 if you have a Vanguard with Baromagnes in its name. Soul Charge 3, choose one of your Vanguard and until the end of turn it gets continuous Vanguard Circle. If your Soul has 10 or more cards, or if your Inferno gets 5k power. This is Pandemonium replacement. Soul Charge 3, yeah, together with the doll, Soul Charge 4. Although this still costs 2 Counterblast, but hey, the doll as well as Pandemonium Tactics is still 2 Counterblast. With this combo has the benefit of giving your front row 5k. This is most probably going to be replacing Pandemonium. And what's more, this card having the access to 5k power to the front row also gives those newly called units after you use Baromagnes skill. So in addition to the personal right power up, this this card is just stupid. Although it's a 5k, it's not much, but I'm telling you, there are cards in Baromagnes right now that actually gains a stupid amount of power without the use of Brainwash. Although if you want to put Brainwash, feel free to do so. Feel free to do so. Next up, we have Lilac Rusher. Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Baromagnes in its card name, this unit gets 2k power until the end of the battle for each card in your soul. Right off the bat, I need to mention here, this is a 2k base only. It's only 2k. But since this unit gains 2k for each and every card in your soul on attack, this is probably going to be your highest attacker without any personal right or anything. If you have 15 soul, this is a 32k attacker. Just process this. How big do you think Brainwash will be? In the long run, that is, because Brainwash needs you to soul charge in order to get the 5k. This one just attacks for free, gain power for days. This is probably going to be rivaling Brainwash. Although when you do Superior Call Brainwash from Baromagnes skill, you don't actually gain that stupid amount of power, but this card actually has. This card is going to be like very scary. Which makes sense why it's 2k base. Next up, we have Attracts in Inverse. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard from soul, if you have a Vanguard with Baromagnes in his card name, discard a card from your hand, choose a grade 2 or less from your soul, and call it to a rearguard circle in the same column as this unit. So we're moving from a mindlessly soul charging to actually 2 bucks from your soul for a much better unit. Be it something that hits harder, be it something that basically puts all of your stuff back to bottom deck, or basically just have more options. An option is always a win. It's actually a shame that she can't really call herself, but then again, you are calling like the same column, so it's not really that big of an issue. The second wave of rearguard attack will be stronger. Since Baromagnes only call 2 units, this card could potentially calls out a booster. So your second wave of rearguard attack is going to be much stronger. And not to mention the previously introduced Lilac Rusher. Yeah, that card, I'm telling you, it's going to be stupid. But then again, whether or not that's the optimum play, it's still up for debate because this unit does cost a card, which actually is a letdown. Next up, we have Steady Spiky. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, cost Counterblast 1 and put a grade 0 from your hand into your soul. Choose a grade 1 from your soul and put it into your hand. Yeah, so once again, we see a 2 boxing skill for Baromagnes, which I tend to like very, very much. Since you soul charge like no tomorrow, which means your soul is going to be fat and most of your key pieces is going to be in your soul. So with this card, you can actually exchange a grade 0 in your card, most probably your triggers, for a much better unit. So since it's specified a grade 1, so most likely you will want to take out a Brainwash, or maybe there are some better units out there other than Brainwash that you can be used. So the grade 0 that goes to the soul is actually really, really important here. Once we talk about the next card, I think you will get an idea why I do say that. Next up, we have Depression Servia. Auto rearguard circle. At the end of the battle, your Vanguard with Baromagnes in his card name attack, cost Counterblast 2, retire this unit, choose 10 cards from your soul, and return the rest of all cards from your soul to your deck and shuffle it. Yeah. So the grade 0 from your hand to soul makes sense now, doesn't it? So this is basically going to be recycling your triggers as well as some of the cards that you don't really want in your soul back to the bottom of the deck. However, since the timing here is after the battle that Baromagnes attack, you probably will be forced to sacrifice an attack since she needs to retire herself. But if you don't want to sacrifice an attack, you can always call Attract Inverse, the card that basically superior calls another stuff from the soul. This actually is quite nice, although it does cost you 3 counterblasts in total because 1 counterblast goes to Baromagnes as well as 2 counterblasts for this unit. So most probably you're not going to be using this card over and over and over and over again. It's a very nice card to be use once if your deck is very, very low and you have a ton of grade 0s in the soul. This could potentially give your next turn a super stupidly trigger check. But then again, the counterblast cost, you have to be very, very careful. And what's more, this puts you down back to 10 soul, which means that some of your cards might not be able to activate their skills. Lastly, we have the triple R, Hit, Haze, Acrobat, Miloslava. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from your hand during your main phase, cost Counterblast 1, choose a card from your soul with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, put the chosen card into your hand if it has the same name as your Vanguard, and call it to rearguard if it don't. If you put a card into your hand, this unit gets 5k power until the end of turn. This is basically a very generic Dark States card. I mean, I put their right line. I think that's a very, very stupid error. This is a very generic support card. All right lines within the Dark State could use this. Since this card helps you fetch out anything from the soul, it's actually very, very nice. And what's more, you basically just benefit. You don't need to discard one or put another card to the soul. You just call her out, you're done. You just get whatever card is in the soul to your hand, which is actually very, very nice. You can either choose to get a personal right or another unit to the board, which is very, very nice. And if you take a personal right to the hand, this unit gets a 5k power, which is at 18k. I think this is like a very worthy triple R card, if you ask me. This is probably going to be a super stapler card, although whether or not Bruce, Jodie, as well as Greedon wants to run this is still up for debate. I think this is leaning more towards Chaos as well as Baromagnes, if I'm being honest. But hey, I may be wrong. Bruce might need this card, Greedon might need this card, as well as Jodie might need this card. But hey, I don't know. We'll just have to wait until I test this out, or basically we see the meta game shift. And that is all for this video. Do let me know down in the comment section of what do you think for Baromagnes as well as Eugene. I think for the longest time, these two right line has been been shafted and they finally got something good. I mean, Baromagnes has been getting really good stuff all this while. It's just that Eugene is like the unwanted child of Bushi, and that they just finally, okay, fine, we'll give you this toy to play with. Do like and subscribe if you like this video, and of course during the bell notification icon so that you don't miss a video. With that being said, I'll see you all on the field.